Welcome to Nacht Waffen Pilot with Penny Bradley. And today, my guest is Linda Smith of The Return of Mr. and Mrs. Smith show. You can find them on YouTube that way. They have a different claim to fame together. Today's show is about Linda's personal experiences with UFOs and extraterrestrial contact, and she's written a book. So I have a bio that I'm going to read. As a third-generation experiencer, Linda's earliest recollection of any extraterrestrial contact took place almost 55 years ago at the age of 3, when she found herself face to face with two small beings standing in the hallway of her home. Linda's family is no stranger to alien contact or UFO phenomena either. Her maternal grandmother, Florence, had an unexplained scoop mark on her leg since childhood. Her sister, Michele, has had a first-time experience around the age of 4, and Linda's children have had experiences spanning the last 26 years, making them the 4th generation in her family to have inherited what started with her grandmother and continued with her own mother, Ruth. Well, welcome to the show, Linda. Linda, unmute your mic.
There you are. Everything froze. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome to my show. That happens a lot. Yes.
Yes, it does. It happens a lot to us too. Thank you for having me. It's nice seeing you guys again.
Yeah. For the audience, Linda and I met in October of 2018 at a conference, Stargate to the Cosmos, that was put on by Sasha and Janet Lesson. And I met a lot of really good people there, and Richard and Linda were 2 of them. And yeah, so I'm jazzed to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's a little strange hearing my bio, and it's hard to believe that it's only been it's almost 55 years since that happened. I feel really old now.
Yeah, I think about that. I was kidnapped at 4, and that was what I talk about. And that was like 1959, and
it's crazy. Time flies.
Time really flies.
It does.
I'm having a birthday this coming week, and I'm going to
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm going to be 66, and hitting 65 was bad enough.
Master numbers, both 65 and 66, so you're good. They both add up to 11.
Awesome.
Or from 11.
Yeah, this year was an 11. Next week, it's going to be the evil double 6s. I'm sorry, I had to. It was there. As Lou puts it, it was there. It had to be said. So, yeah, I read your book. I thought it was pretty good.
Thank you.
It was. I liked the format of you having your journal juxtaposed with your mother's journal in different typeface, so that you could tell. So I could tell whose was whose, but they were linked up by the dates. So you're getting 2 different reports of the same incident, and this goes through decades. It's not just a one-time shot. And I checked out the photographs, and yeah, to me, it's pretty definitive evidence. I wouldn't argue with it, but I know ETs exist, and I know abductions happen, and they happen by different folks. some human, some not.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you wanted to talk about the folks that you think are who took you, because I wasn't sure who you meant by the term elders.
That's the thing. I honestly, to this day, don't even know who they are, where they're from. I've never even asked. I was never even curious to ask. They've been part of my life, my entire life. It's almost like when you have a cousin come over, you know, they're your cousin. I don't know. I never asked that at all. I have no idea.
Okay.
Sorry.
There
but I
goes
would-
that whole thing of questioning I had thought about. Yes,
Well-
I do try to prepare questions.
No, that's great.
I don't sit here looking like an idiot.
Well, I feel like an idiot because I've been asked that numerous times and I have no idea where they could have come from. What were your other questions based on that? Maybe I can.
You mentioned that in the book that you thought they might be from Zeta Reticuli. And so
that's based on something Richard had told me, but go ahead. Yes.
So I was going to ask if they were the same group that some other experiencers are calling the Ponti, who have a base at Sandia Mountain.
From what I was told by Jeff Demers, based on my description of the beings, there was only one that was a Ponti, and she was the one that was holding the baby when they showed me the baby that they kept. Her name is Cananda. And from what I heard from Jeff Demers, he had asked Teeny or Grayson or one of them about Cananda and where she was, because I was asking, and they said, oh, she wasn't supposed to remember her. So, yeah. They were very shocked that I did. Yeah. And Sue Walker actually drew her portrait for me of Cananda, and I have it here. She gave me the original portrait. Yeah.
That is really cool. I had an interdimensional who was visiting me for a while, and I had Sue draw him. I've had experiences with artists that apparently I'm not capable of getting other people to see what I've been seeing.
Mm-hmm.
With Sue, since she's a telepath, I could send him to go visit her. It was like, okay, Nick, you get to go see Sue, and she's going to draw you, and you tell her what you want to look like. And she sent me back two portraits. One was full body, and the other one was a face portrait. They were both quite good.
Sue and I have come to the realization that we are more than likely cousins, because my mother's maiden name was Walker, and they all lived in the same general area of upstate New York.
That's cool.
Yes. I'm waiting for Richard. He was bringing the picture of Cananda. As far as the other beings, Richard was the one that suggested that they could be in the general area of Zeta Reticuli. That's Cananda, by the way. Oh, let me take my background off so you can see it. That's Cananda.
Oh, that's Cananda. Okay. That's the one who has your other daughter.
She was the one who was holding her. I'm not sure who is actually watching her. I do believe just out of my gut and all of my other experiences that she is being taken care of in the sisterhood, the galactic group that I have been with since I was a child, which is it's like a space station of all different beings there. It's not just one particular group.
Okay, I have interacted with the captain of one of those ships.
Mm-hmm.
And there are apparently 5 huge ships in orbit. And it's where the hybrid children who don't look human enough to fit in live.
Yes, exactly. And that is what I have been trained for my entire life, is to help them when they will come down here,
Mhm.
because I have been with them through over the years, that when they are ready to come down here, that's my mission, my goal, my what's the word I'm looking for? Purpose. Thank you. Is to help them acclimate here on Earth when they finally do come down.
Okay. So I know part of the process is getting the 20% that don't want to deal with hybrids used to the idea that it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that that 20%, this may sound very weird, but I do believe that 20% is being conditioned now to start accepting those that don't fit into the norm with the LGBTQ community and the autistic kids.
Well, yeah, that's been a major change, and the understanding that there are so many mixed race people
Yes.
broke down a lot of those barriers. And because I interact with Doug Dietrich and I'm on his show usually once a week now, I sat down and I just like, I'm completely surrounded by mixed race people.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely wonderful. These were all good people and I enjoy being around them, and I would never have thought about it. It would never have entered my mind, except that Doug asked me a question one night. It was like, well, what race are you? And I go, well, I'm a British Royal mixed with Cherokee. And he's like, you're what?
Right.
I mean, it is what it is, the me here and now did not choose my ancestry. So, but yeah,
I can totally relate to being a mixed race. You're speaking to one who has quite an ancestry.
Yeah, I read on your Facebook that you had interacted with, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, the Taino tribe.
The Taino tribe, yes, is an indigenous group from the Caribbean, specifically. Well, one of the islands specifically is the island that my father is from, Cuba. They're all through the lower part of Florida. Well, Florida and Georgia is part of where they migrated through. All of the Caribbean, the Greater and Lesser Antilles, and they originally came from the Arawak people.
Okay.
Which, from what I understand from the elder that I spoke to, they are of Mayan ancestry.
The Mayans got a long way north, a lot farther than most people think. The people I interact with have this tendency to tell me that, well, the tribes didn't move around very much. They fought with each other. There was no big territories. They just had these small city states. And I'm like, no, there were cultural influences from Maya territory all the way into the Mississippi River Valley, as far north as Ohio.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how far south they went. And these people, it's like eyes, And
because they were.
There is history there. If you look, there's all kinds of information coming from archaeology. If you look.
Yes, exactly. A lot of people say that the Taino tribe in Cuba was wiped out, but it's not true. They went up into the mountains and hid in the mountains of Cuba.
Well, that was smart.
And then mixed in with the Europeans that came and took over Cuba with the Spanish rule. So
Yeah.
we're called mestizos.
That doctrine of discovery has done more harm than anything else that came out of Europe. That was, pardon my cussing, but that was pure bullshit.
Yeah.
And it has caused more harm worldwide than anything else that has ever come out of the Vatican. Oh, for the audience, the doctrine of discovery was approximately 500 years ago, came out of the Vatican and said that if the people who were on the land were not Catholic Christians subject to the Vatican, that a Catholic Christian subject to the Vatican had the right to kill them and take their property without sin. And that was the legal foundation for the European colonization of the rest of the world. That is still the legal foundation for property ownership in the United States. It's one of the worst things that ever happened.
Yes, ma'am. Sure was.
So yeah. Yes, I know. The royals out of Europe were some of the most bloodthirsty, evil people this planet has ever produced.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm descended from them, and I'm like,
I know.
okay. I've been avoiding saying what family line I'm from on air.
I think you told me once, but I'll keep it at that.
Thank you. Yeah, I have been looking into Richard's work about the Moors, and I've been really impressed. And there's this question that came up because I knew that the Scythians were one of the tribes out of Atlantis, and I'm operating under the assumption that the Moors are a second one. Well, Atlantis had 10 tribes. Where did the other 8 go? That's been my question ever since, is who are the other 8? Because they didn't just die.
No, they didn't. And according to Michael Lee Hill, when I had a conversation with him, and we were talking about Atlantis, and I told him that on my father's side, my great grandfathers came from Basque, and he said those were also from Atlantis.
Yeah. Robert
Basques
Sepper has tracked the ancient folks that came from Atlantis. He calls them Cro-Magnon types, and he doesn't distinguish skin color because it's a subspecies of humans, so you really don't know what the DNA means, and it's far enough in the past that most of it's degraded, so it's really hard to tell. Now they're getting better at it.
Yeah.
Some of the archaeological site digs through Europe and Asia that are in the 5,000 year age range, they're able to sequence the DNA for those folks. And there's a site I'm on where if you have a GEDmatch number, you can compare. That was a shock. I was closer related to 5 of them than I was to my siblings.
Wow.
No, that was like, oh, really?
I know. I started to look into the GEDmatch thing too with my number. It was a little creepy that they could go back that far.
Yeah. So the only so-called surprise that I had was that when they checked ancient DNA, I did have, I think they said 2% from Africa and 1% from India, which, I mean, and they couldn't find any Native American in me, which surprised me a lot because my father was very dark-skinned.
Hmm.
So,
When I did my DNA results, I was very shocked at the results, to be quite honest, because the history that I was told was this much, only to find out I have almost all of Africa in my DNA, part of Asia. The most shocking, I think, was the fact that I have DNA from Rapa Nui, which is Easter Island.
mm,
Yeah, that one blew me away. So, and a lot of indigenous blood, not just from the Americas. So
that would be a surprise to have Pacifica, Rapa Nui
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, but wasn't Thor Heyerdahl's theory that all those people came from South America originally, which would make it half-assed make sense?
yeah, it's just, it didn't match. My DNA did not match the story that I was told. So it was quite an eye opener for me.
Mine didn't match either because I was told I was much more Native American than that. And I've done my family tree on Ancestry, and I was expecting that those 20 Native mothers in my tree would have contributed something. But according to the test site, nope. So, and I uploaded it to a couple of sites just to see what other people said. I have done lab work and I don't have a high confidence in most of them. So you take the results and you give it to a couple of different places and then you compare the results. And you might actually get the truth out of one or more of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. When I did lab work, we were required to do something called a chi-squared test that tested how well our data hung together. It was a test for accuracy of results. So, a statistical test.
Okay.
I worked in a biology lab, so this was.
Oh.
I wanted to be a doctor, a pediatrician that treated kids with endocrine problems. And I ended up with lupus. And lupus is basically a native kind of disorder. So most of the people that have it have some native blood. So to me, that verifies I have that, or I wouldn't be susceptible to it. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, it was still a bit of a surprise to have the DNA say I wasn't. But no, I have 3 siblings who have your kind of coloring, and my father was almost as dark as Daryl, my producer. So I look at me in the mirror and go, "You're the wrong color, Penny."
Yeah, I mean, considering what's in my DNA, I thought I'd have better coloring. It's very strange that I have less melanin than I should.
Well, we are what we are. We just.
Yep.
How is it that story goes? you will have one body for the duration of your incarnation. You can either like it or not, but you're still going to have it.
Exactly. It is what it is. I can't change it. So
my major effort is in keeping my weight down enough that I can walk instead of having to roll everywhere.
oh my God.
You got to keep a sense of humor.
Yes, you do. Yes, I agree.
So, how deep did you want to get into describing?
Whatever you want to talk about. It's already out there in a book, so I have no secrets. Whatever you want to talk about.
You were on Long Island for most of it.
For the bigger part of it, yeah. I moved from Long Island to Florida when I was in my 30s. So almost 31 years of it was on Long Island. No, I think I was older than my 30. How old was I? 32, 33?
I think so.
Okay, so 30 years of it was on Long Island. Then the rest has been wherever I go, it follows me.
Well, I've noticed that. Okay, I was flat out told by the group that abducts me that they don't track us by chips anymore, that they track us by the collection of frequencies that our organs make, that even though there's so many of us, that the actual recording doesn't change, that you have kind of a permanent brainwave pattern and a permanent heart resonance frequency, and your liver and other organs each has its own frequency. And
yes.
The collection of this is how they're now tracking us, that as long as the satellite can read us, or the ET ship can read us, that they can find us. So if we're in a deep underground military base, they might have trouble doing that. But if we're on the surface, they can find us anywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
And that was a shock to my system when I was told. And when I've passed that on to other experiencers who are being abducted for these programs, some of them got hysterical because they had been literally ripping their arms apart trying to remove chips that weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you know, on one hand, you know, it's a good thing to know you're not being chipped anymore. On the other hand, it's like, there's nowhere you can run.
Nope.
There is no escape. And depending on whether you're love or fear oriented, and I'll be honest, most of the SSP super soldier people are now fear oriented, because as you remember more, you're aware that you're property and that you don't have free will like everybody around you does. And that takes some getting used to.
But do we really have free will?
I really don't think people do, but
No.
they argue with me all the time. I mean,
whether you have a benevolent experience or a malevolent experience, we're still their property, regardless.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. My fun comes when two or more agencies show up pretty much at the same time and they all want to take me. It's like, who has priority here?
Yeah, really. Flip a coin, guys.
Yeah. At least take turns. Don't fight over
Something.
it. Oh,
I have never had, I don't have a memory of any bad experience ever in my life.
wow.
I don't have that fear factor still stuck in my head. I don't have any bad stories at all.
Now that's really unusual. Most people, if they're taken over time, will have at least one that wasn't fun at all. So,
Well, in the very beginning, they weren't fun. I was a little kid. I was afraid of why I was being taken. But I mean, I don't have any. My sister, on the other hand, remembers things differently, and she still refuses to this day to speak about it.
yeah.
She has not even shared anything with me.
One of my kids told me, Mom, I remember all that, but it just doesn't seem as scary as you describe it. So I
don't know.
I have three that are all grown. One won't discuss the topic at all. It's like, you're crazy, Mom. And the second one tells me I have memories and I don't want to talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one says, I remember things, but they're not as scary as you describe them. So I have no idea what they've encountered or haven't, or what they were used for. But I know what age they were when they were taken, because personality change.
Yeah. I have 3 grown children myself, and they've all had experiences. My oldest one is 34. He doesn't really remember anything. My 30-year-old still has experiences. And my youngest, I think she's just so busy with nursing school that she's either not sharing it with me or nothing's happening right now.
Okay.
Which could be because there's some parts of my life where I can say that I don't remember anything happening during that time. And then it came back full force. So I'm not sure if I just don't have any memory of it, or there really was a time period where they left me alone.
I had the ability to see interdimensionally from the time, at least from the time I was first sent back. My father didn't believe in any of that, and he would tell me I was a liar and beat me. So I learned real quick what was 3D and what wasn't. And I was about 8 or 9 when a lot of that just stopped. And then when I was 18, it came back with a vengeance. And it was almost like they were honoring that my father was just going to abuse me over it. And then I went through years, decades of stuff. And I had 3 early miscarriages and 1. The doctor kept calling it a false pregnancy, but it was like I gave birth at the 8th month, but there was no baby. So I'm pretty sure I had similar to what you've experienced.
I can almost guarantee you did, because false pregnancy to me is code word for hybrid mother.
Yeah. I was abducted in 95, and I had had cancer in the meantime, and a hysterectomy for because of the cancer. And I was picked up, and it was a naga in the background, and there were three of the beige beings that you show in your book. I've tended to describe them as looking like the ancient Chinese elders in the ivory statues, the ones with the really big heads. They were up front and they were running the equipment, and they woke me up to ask me what had happened, why I didn't have a uterus anymore. And they were really pissed.
Yeah, you shocked them.
And I ended up with a mark on my arm that itched like crazy for decades. It was finally, I guess, about 2015. Luther decided to pull out his magnet that he worked on cars with, you know, when they drop things into the engine.
Yeah.
And he rubbed that over it, and it finally quit itching.
Huh.
So whatever was in it is deactivated. So it looks.
Are you talking about this being right here?
Yeah, I'm talking about that being right there.
Yeah, that little fat bulbous head.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not your typical grays.
No, they're not.
No.
They're not typical grays at all. They're something else.
Yeah.
And I saw them more beige, not white people's skin color, but beige.
My particular one, for some reason, had like his skin matched his clothing. So it was like a rusty brown, like an odd Native American toned brown, leathery type of skin. It was very weird.
Okay. But yeah, I remember screaming at them, and then I was back in my bed, and I had been strapped to a board and held upright inside a plexiglass tube when they woke me up, like they were scared of me or didn't want me to hurt myself or something. And I woke up with bruises where the straps had been, and the bruises lasted a while. I didn't get photographs. I probably should have. But this was second hubby, and he had never encountered anything, and he had been in paralysis while I was taken. So this was a shocking experience for him, and I'm back and I'm bruised up, and he's like, "What was that?" And I go, "I was abducted." And he goes, "You're so calm about it." It keeps happening. You can't stop it. What if you got, you know?
Exactly. You can't stop it. So why fight it?
Yeah. You know, why get yourself in an uproar about it? Although there have been some things I've been taken for, I'm like, you know, that wasn't a short thing. What were we doing? And since I've got a group that are experiencers mostly, and I'll ask them, did anybody else have something happen such and such time? And then I'll start getting reactions back, and we'll piece together what we were involved in. So
I've been having a lot of group experiences lately. I can't remember why we're there, but I know that there's a lot of us, probably 50 or more people. The most bizarre one was maybe a year ago. I was with a group of people, and we were standing at the edge of a platform that was, I didn't realize it at first, but it was quite high up, almost like a mountaintop. and the platform came to an end. There was no railing or anything, but we were all staring at these three ships, or shapes, I should say, in the sky. And each one was a different color, and each one was a different shape.
Okay.
They almost reminded me of like chess pieces. And I have no idea what we were doing there, why we were there, who we were celebrating or welcoming. But we were welcoming somebody, some group coming in. It's
That
very
all
bizarre.
sounds fun.
Yeah, it wasn't a scary thing or anything. It's just weird. There was a large group of us on a platform, on a flat platform, very high up, staring at three shapes. Rick, do you remember that the one where there was three shapes in the sky and each one was a different color?
Yes. I remember that.
Do you remember what else I told you about that?
Not offhand, no,
Okay.
I just remember seeing it.
Yeah, it was. He actually had an experience not too long ago where he watched somebody walk through a portal in our bedroom and left.
That's what I have a lot of. There is a portal at the
Mhm.
in the hallway at the top of my stairs, and it's this big round red light, and humans wearing black fatigues will come through it to take me.
Do you remember what they were wearing? The being stopped, looked at us in the bed, and walked right into the doorway of that portal.
Wow.
No, because I
It was
couldn't
like 3
tell
o'clock in the
because
morning.
I could tell it was female, but I swear it almost looked into my mother, but she was phasing out.
Mhm.
So I couldn't tell what she was wearing.
He thought it was me at first, standing at the foot of the bed, and then he realized I was laying next to him. Somebody recently interviewed me, and they were shocked that I was still having experiences. And I've heard that from other people too, that, wow, you're still having experiences? I thought they stopped when you hit a certain age.
No,
No?
no.
Not to me.
Mine are ongoing. I've been in a cocoon for several months, and I got to look at the outside of the cocoon, and I'm between the paws of a giant dragon, and he's making sure nobody bothers me. So I asked him, well, what's going on here? He says, I can't tell you anything, just roll with it.
On a need to know basis, and you don't need to know.
Yeah, it's happening to me, but I don't need to know. So yeah, this has been going on all summer. I don't know what's going on.
As long as you're not being harmed, whatever. Deal with
I'm
it.
arachnophobic, and apparently it was spiders who wove the cocoon, and I keep having visuals of spiders in it. But they're not touching me, they're not biting me, they're just weaving the thing, and I'm like, I've taken up telling them, please don't be where I have to see you.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So.
Do you have anything else that you want to ask me? I feel like I'm so boring.
Linda, you're fine. I'm enjoying this. I haven't heard any complaints from the audience, and if there were, Daryl would have told us. Go ahead. Daryl has his headphones on, so he's hanging out.
That's the elder that you were talking about. That's the one that I have seen the most. And yes, they had hair. I don't know if it was a wig or not, but I say him because I feel like his energy is a male, but he had hair.
I've interacted with a lot of folks out there, and about half of them do have the hair. And even among reptilians, some of them have hair. More of the reptilians have feathers, but some have hair. So, we're not alone in the universe.
Oh God, no. And anybody
Yeah.
that still thinks that to this day really needs an eye-opening experience, because we're not.
So last year about this time, I had a woman scream at me that there were only humans, demons, and angels.
Okay.
And I figured, I'm sorry, I'm not going to deal with this. And I blocked her.
I feel sorry for people who are that close-minded. Seriously, you're never going to get anywhere in life being that close-minded.
Nope. But there are an amazing number of folks that will tell me a variation of that, depending on which religion it is. It's archons or demons or interdimensionals or negative entities. And I'm like, you live in 3D. What are you calling bears, lions, and tigers? Because they eat people too.
Mhm. Exactly.
These are physical beings that are carnivores. Does that necessarily mean they're evil? Are bears evil? No, they're just being bears. Yeah,
Exactly.
So I have a hard time with a lot of the dogma that is being accumulated around this community.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I have the most trouble with is it's all consciousness. That if it's all happening in your head, we don't have to take you seriously, and we don't have to listen to what you say. We can pat you on the head and let you have your thing in the corner.
Yes. I've heard a number of things when I was much younger, which made me stop talking about my experiences when I was younger, before my teens, up until I was about 12.
I've
Was
been
making fun of.
asked in conferences by grown-ups who should know better. Were you taken in your consciousness, or were you taken physically? And I was frustrated and a little bit pissy. And I mean, we all know I get that way. And I told him, look, I was taken for a mission by the CIA. I went and did their mission. And on the way back, they broke my shoulder. And 2 years later, I had to have a 4-hour surgery to repair that shoulder. So, what do you think? And he turned bright red and didn't speak to me for the rest of the day.
Good.
So, yeah. I have the scars to prove it. Took me a long time to get to where I could dress myself. Poor Lou had to dress me and wash my hair and brush my hair in the meantime because I could not move that shoulder. So, even with physical therapy. So, but yeah, they asked me if it was consciousness.
I mean, there are times when they do take you that way,
Mm-hmm. There are
but
times.
the majority of the time it's physical.
Yeah, there are times that I'm taking just my consciousness, like this situation where I'm in the cocoon. That is just a consciousness thing. It's anytime I shut my eyes, all I see is the inside of the cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's consciousness. But when you go and you do the mission they want, and then on the way back, they break your shoulder because you're talking about them, and then you have to have surgery to repair the damage done. I mean, come on. That's physical.
Yeah.
So I saw the photographs of the markings that have been left on you, and that looks to me like your encounters were physical.
Oh, the majority of them were physical, yes.
So,
I have more pictures that I didn't even put in my book because they happened after I published the book, of strange, they looked like the tip of a finger, strange black and blues in a pattern from my knee up my inner thigh. I've had a very strange mark. It looks like the number 5 on a die.
okay.
Which is very similar to a friend of mine her name is Seb Talk. She's out there in the public too with her experiences. She had one that was in the shape of a triangle. I've had numerous triangular marks on me, bruises, scratches, unexplained scratches in places that I couldn't reach to do it myself. And no, I didn't have a cat at that time because I've been asked that.
Yeah, I have 2 cats. I used to have a dog, or actually she was Luz, and she was a wolf German Shepherd hybrid.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. I've always wanted a wolf.
We've also had an assortment of guinea pigs, and over my lifetime, hamsters, parakeets, all sorts of critters.
Yep. That's what happens when you have kids, right?
Yeah. Well, after my kids got out on their own, because I'd had 3 kids and I helped raise 4 stepkids.
Oh, okay.
I was used to every time I turned around hugging a kid.
Yeah.
Well, they all moved out in a 5-year period.
Aw.
And
That must have been rough.
It was very hard. And I had 1 left at home, and I kept getting told, Mom, don't, please, don't. So we got me a guinea pig. Guinea pigs love to be held.
Yes. I've had numerous ones myself.
Excuse me. But we have smoke in the air. That's what the coughing is about. So nobody needs to worry about me.
Yeah, it's very bad over here. The smoke's coming over here from the west. It's bad over here.
I am not at risk from the fires, but the smoke is so thick the sky is gray instead of blue.
This is one of the marks that I had gotten. This is a close-up of it. I don't know if you can see it. But at the end of on each side, there's 3 pinpoints like triangles. That one was a very curious one.
Those are smaller than the ones I normally see in the groups I'm in. They can be up to about that big. The pattern, the whole pattern size. And
it was about a 1/2 inch or so.
We had a lady in one of the groups I was in that she's since disappeared, but she said she was on one of the teams that picks people up for abductions, and that they use the markings to tell each other who's already been there that day.
So it's like branding.
Exactly. Which
makes sense.
Makes sense if you're doing animal studies, but
to some of these,
it's kind of an ego issue.
Yeah. But to some of those beings out there, if it's not your regular group, like I have had a regular group, if it's another group that takes you, we are an animal study to them.
Yeah, it gets that way. And some of us have been modified in certain ways, and everybody wants to watch that.
Yeah.
So it's been waking up to this and sitting with it and getting comfortable enough with it to not just sit and cry all the time, which was my initial reaction to getting the SSP memories. Was I would cry days on end. First 3 years I was dealing with it, that's pretty much all I did was just cry. And I was driving Lou crazy. I mean, you've met him, you know how he feels about me. Yeah, me and Lou are almost as close as you and Richard. Oh, that was something I wanted to mention.
Okay. Shoot.
The love bite thing.
Yeah, that was a term that I had never heard before until Gloria Hawker, who lives here in New Mexico with us. She was with us one night talking about, I don't remember what we were talking. Oh, we were driving home from a meeting, and she said, "Do you guys ever hear of the love bite?" And Richard said, "I think so, a long time ago. Didn't somebody write a book about that?" And she said, "Yeah, Eve Lorgan."
Eve Lorgan did, yeah.
Yeah. I had never heard of that before, but apparently you get paired as children.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you meet that person here on Earth in your real life, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah. I think that's what's behind most of the twin flame phenomenon as we know.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why you have one partner is sure, oh, this is my twin flame, and the other one considers you a dangerous stalker.
Yeah, it can get to those extremes, yes.
That's the usual way it plays out. So, but you guys have done pretty well.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we first met, I was married and very pregnant.
Yeah.
With my now almost 26-year-old. But we shook hands and we instantly knew that we knew each other. Yeah. And then and his mom already knew my mom. They were friends. They were in the same book club. It was actually UFO meetings that they were going to, but I thought it was a book club at first. Anyway,
they had a good cover story, didn't they?
Yeah. So we became friends at first. Yes, there was an attraction, but nothing ever happened, I swear. And then I moved to Florida. He got married. I got divorced. Then he got divorced. And then now we got married. Took 20 years for that to happen. Yeah, it was a total of like 20 years before we finally got back together.
When you say it like that, it sounds like a Mel Brooks movie.
It seemed like a Mel Brooks movie. I mean, we stayed friends all that time, and we kept up with each other and everything, but just like in those twin flame scenarios, sometimes they end up breaking up or not getting along or splitting apart for some reason or another. And some people get back together and some don't. But I agree with you. That is a twin flame thing.
Yeah. There was a man that was part of my mess. He was at Langley with me, and we were on Mars together. And he is the individual that the NSA used to restore my memories because they knew I would automatically trust him. And I've had more than one interviewer try to turn it into a twin flame love story. And it wasn't. It was a love bite. And I was with Lou, and we were having issues because he was ill and withholding that information from me. And for the general public listening out there, if you're in a relationship, tell your partner the truth so that they know what the hell is going on and don't think that you hate them. Because I would never have gone to meet this man if Lou had told me the truth.
Mm.
If I had known his problem was he was sick, I thought he was done with me. He wouldn't speak to me for days on end. When he did, he would scream at me, and he was spending a lot of time at an older woman's house. And she slapped me one day. So I was like, I'm done. So,
Wow.
yeah, this is why I went with him. It wasn't this major love story. There's a video out there of me. It's gotten 100,000 views. And it's where this interviewer spent 4 hours interviewing me and kept coming back to that. And he finally edited it into just about 2 hours of love story.
Mm.
And I have been so humiliated by that because this was a love bite.
Mhm.
Trauma bonding, because my time at Langley was mind fracture, and he and I both survived it.
Mhm.
This was not the twin flame bullshit.
No, love bites are not necessarily that they pair you and you're going to be a couple for the rest of your life. That's just how it worked out for me and Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's other people who it doesn't.
No,
work
there's
out for.
plenty of other people that it doesn't work.
Roman, what the hell is it? I can't remember his name.
Stan Romanek?
Stan Roman
Yeah.
is one where it didn't work out.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And living at Portillo also.
we have a couple in our community that they've been together long enough that they're common law married now, and that's
Mhm.
Susan Long and Frank Emart. And they served in space together, and theirs was the classic love bite, but it's working for them like it's working for you and Richard.
Yeah.
And so all of these new age people are painting it as twin flames, and I don't think it is.
No.
And they're frustrated because they want to talk about their legitimate experiences in space, and
Right.
everybody wants to talk about twin flames.
Well,
Twin flame is just the fancy, romanticized way of saying it.
it's just a different syntax. In the New Age movement, they're not. Love bite doesn't fit into that syntax, so it's got to be.
I know.
You know, it's just. It's the same thing. It's
Do you
just
want
they're
to
calling
sit
it.
over here so they don't see a disembodied voice?
This is the disembodied voice from the heavens. Okay.
No, it's Richard.
This is Metatron.
Metatron, Tron.
Oh, sure. I'll sit there.
Hi, baby.
Hi.
Hello, Richard.
Hello.
When you buy Linda's book, he is the redheaded guy she talks about.
Yes, he's the redheaded boy, the little
Yes.
red-haired boy. And once we became friends and we
Yes,
started,
I read the book.
I see that. Once we became friends and we started putting our stories together, because he was like the first guy that I knew that I could openly talk to about my UFO experiences as a kid without being made fun of.
Mm.
What is whistling?
That's the wind.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's coming through the window.
We started putting pieces together, and I was like, holy shit, you're the little red-haired boy that I was constantly walking around the ship with. And then he asked me to show him a picture of me when I was about 11, and I thought he was going to pass out because he was like, oh my God, it really is you.
That was her, the 11-year-old girl in that picture.
I'm 6.5 years older than him. So I was assigned the task of making sure that he was taken care of at all costs. Those were the exact words given to me by the being that we lovingly call Mother. She's
crone.
a praying mantis. She's the crone.
Yeah, watch this one. He's a problem.
Part of
So you had a praying mantis watching over you.
yeah, she's watched over him and trained me.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
for the audience who think that the praying mantises are horrible people because they are carnivores on Earth, I will like to state for the record that my experience with the mantids is that they are incredible healers.
Yes.
Yes. They're known as the ancient ones, the ancient healers.
Yeah.
There's not too many of them left out there because they are a primordial race. So their time has gone into the eons, and after a while, a certain race just goes extinct. They're not extinct yet, but they're there.
Yeah,
Right.
there's like this thing about the DNA of a race has a lifespan of its own. And you can extend it by hybridization with a younger race. And that my understanding is that that's what the Zetas are trying to do through hybridization with us, is they're trying to extend their time. But you can only extend it so long. You only have so long for your race to exist. And the bodies will go extinct. I don't know what happens to the souls if they move on to another race or if they ascend.
Who knows?
That was the underlying theme in Jupiter Ascending. The whole renewing of the cell structure and with the rejuvenation serum to try and stretch out the immortality of their cells and their DNA.
Yeah. Well, I got that part of the story, but what struck me was how realistic their ET portrayals were. Whoever was in charge of that part of that movie had seen them.
Yes.
They had the emotions right. They had the attitudes on point. The only problem that I had is that Draconian warrior cast don't have wings. That's the only thing they got wrong.
Well, Hollywood's got to put a twist on something somewhere.
Yeah. But that's in the whole movie, that was the only ET detail that they got wrong. Everything else, whoever set them up for the CGI or the acting had them perfect.
Well, if you have a chance, look up the way they describe each of them on the fandom site for Jupiter Ascending. You find out all those secondary alien characters are all classified as hybrids. There was the owl hybrid, the bee hybrid. In fact, the one guy who works with the main character to try and protect her, there's a reason why he has bees all around him, because he's half human, half bee. He's a bee hybrid. You don't know that until you read into it behind the scenes on the fan sites, but they were all, the bounty hunters, they were all hybrids. So it wasn't just the main character who was half wolf, half human. All those characters were hybrids.
There is a race out there that my group called them Canids, and they are from Canis Minora, and they very much resemble that character.
Yeah.
Anywhere from human with dog parts to looking like Anubis, anywhere in between that range comes from that system.
When I was a kid, because I'm a big thing on the Invisible College. The book I'm working on now is focusing strictly on that. When I was a kid, one of the movies, you wouldn't think this would happen, but unless you were someone who had experiences and then it's buried away, but then you see it come out in the movie. there was a movie that no one, I still think it's a great movie to watch. It had a huge impact called The Howling.
Mm.
When I saw The Howling and I saw the way they depicted the werewolves, I was like, that's straight out of my nightmares. Now, of course, I didn't realize it wasn't nightmares until I reached the age of 21 and realized what I was really looking at in that movie. But I always recommend to people, if you want to see the type of things I'm talking about in my book, watch Empire Strikes Back, all those bounty hunters, watch Wolfen,
Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine, watch The Howling, because that's what they look like, you know. And so that's what set me on the path of discovering the Invisible College.
Yes. The more the Mason and the Alien.
Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 is being written right now.
Those are Richard's books.
Yep.
And if you want,
Prelude.
Oh yeah, this was the very, very first book that he wrote.
Legions of Light.
Light.
Armies of Darkness.
Legions of Light, Armies of Darkness
Mm-hmm.
by Rick Smith. When did you change from being Rick to Richard?
By the time 2015 came along, I'm like, well, Rick was good for the 90s, but if I'm going to go serious into this, I got to use my full name because Rick just doesn't cut it. So,
No, because I met you in 2018 and you were Richard then. So
yeah.
I'm seeing her.
I don't think there's not many of us that still call him Rick. And I call him Rick or Richard throughout the day, depending on what mood I'm in. So he'll answer to anything.
Whatever pops out of the mouth at the moment.
Yeah.
I think I went with Rick for a long time in my 20s and into my early 30s because as a kid, when I was called Richard, I know I was in trouble. So Richard!
When I was called my full name, I was in trouble, and I was called that way too often.
Yes.
Yeah. When I was little and I was not in trouble, I was Penny Lou.
Okay.
So Mama was from Oklahoma and Daddy's people were from Arkansas. And sometimes you will hear that Southern stuff come out of my mouth. But I grew up in the period before Jimmy Carter when they would hear that Southern accent and they would deduct 50 IQ points from how they treated you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I worked on losing the accent.
Well, you did very well.
Thank you.
But going back to the love bite thing, the explanation in detail is in here. The first half of this book.
We're on radio, so you need to
I'm
read
sorry.
the title. You
It's
need to
the
read
more the
title.
Mason and the Alien, a call to action. The first half of the book is in detail of our story and the praying mantis and
Yes.
the battle that we were in on I forgot the name of the ship.
Negamase.
Yeah.
That also too, people for years before putting out that book in 2015, people would always ask me, well, what does the crone look like? I would verbally describe it, but this book is the first time I ever sat down and really nailed down exactly the way she looks. Mm-hmm. So people could picture it in their head, plain as day, and get a clear-cut illustration as to what she looks like.
I've started drawing the beings I remember myself because, like I mentioned earlier, I cannot describe them to others where that they can figure out what I'm seeing. So I'm accumulating a collection. I am writing a book, but I apparently have a mental block. I can write a page or two, and then it's like the mind completely shuts down. And I'm sitting here staring off into space going,
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally understand that.
So, and it doesn't help that I took the approach of history. Okay, my book is about, I remember going to Shula on Mars.
Hmm.
I was with the Germans. I was put into their school system with their colony kids, and I was taught their view of the world and what they wanted me to use in their program. And they spent 10 years teaching me. And this is to their credit. They wanted their assets to be intelligent and educated.
Mhm.
So I'm in this position. My memories have been restored. I remember what they taught me, but it's very different from what I was taught on Earth in California. So I've been literally going through and finding out how much of which was objectively true.
Mhm.
And that's what I was putting in this book, was the history of how the Germans got into space from what they taught me, with as much Earth level documentation as I could find. Well, most of that documentation is in German, which I don't read it very well. Okay. The German I hear in my head is Schwabisch. It's not Hochdeutsch. So, there's a language problem. And I'm trying to read this stuff, and I'm trying to figure out connotations with English translations that don't give the connotations. And it's really hard going. And I've managed to track the technologies back to John Dee, who was the first 007 in Queen Elizabeth I's court.
Mm-hmm.
So I've managed to track the technology that far. Now I'm looking for, where did the Frill and Thule Gesellschafts come up with their occult information that was put into the SS? And how much different is the World War II SS from the Schwarze Sonne Gesellschaft that I was a part of?
Mhm.
And I'm translating and hunting, and I'm having a really hard time tracking it as far as step-by-step details. But in Shula on Mars, they said that Schwarze Sonne came out of the Teutonic Knights. Well, the Teutonic Knights got their information from the Knights Templar, and the Knights Templar, their families were Cathari, and they got their information from the Johnites, who were alongside the early Christians, but their religion basically comes from the Isis Osiris mystery school out of Alexandria.
Mm.
So I've got a basic trail. It's finding the details in between. But that's what I'm writing about. Also, the historical thing that super soldiers are not a new thing. They go back into Anunnaki history. All of the demigods, all of the heroes of ancient mythology were all super soldiers. If you look at them in objective terms, they match up exactly with the descriptions we have of super soldiers today. They have periods of insanity where they kill their own families. They're stronger than most. They're smarter than most. They use technologies that the rest of us don't have access to. Yeah. They have short lifespans because they have these psychotic episodes, and many of them are killed by family members that they have been trying to kill. So it's describing exactly what we still have ongoing today. The only thing that's different is now we're doing it to each other instead of the gods doing it to us.
Right.
That explains a lot about the conflicting stories about the giants from our ancient history. Some of them were teachers, others seem to be barbarians or just outright homicidal maniacs. So they were all over the map with how they're described. Hercules is a good example of that super soldier.
Hercules. Sorry. I had an Eddie Murphy moment just now.
Half god and half man is half human and half alien today.
Yes.
So it's just different lexicon, rewording it. This is why the evolutionists and the creationists speak the same language, but just with a different vocabulary.
There's a few different concepts, but yeah, it comes down to it. And then I start explaining how I've decoded the information because it's there in historical documents. And people start going, "You're crazy. You're an atheist."
I've seen them call you that on your page a few times.
Oh, they call me that because I've been through 104 Christian exorcisms with New Age and Gnostic exorcisms on top of that. And I am so triggered by spiritual abuse that I just don't want to talk about it. And they don't respect that. It's, well, my religion isn't a religion. I can talk about it. You know, and I'm like, just please don't. I believe your God is real. I just don't believe it's a God. I believe it's an ET.
Yes.
And that goes over their head, way back, and never comes back to slap them in the forehead.
Nope.
They just totally miss it. Your God is real.
Yeah.
Your God is just an ET or the ghost of one. That's it. And they don't get it. They think that I'm dissing them. No, you've got a holy book. You're doing what you think is right. I have no problem with that. Just don't shove my nose in it every day.
Exactly.
Well, if they think you're an atheist, they must want to burn someone like me at the stake then for what I say about their so-called belief in God.
Oh, well, yes. Last night I banned a person because he had assumed that since I say that the gods are ETs, that I was putting myself in as God, which I know I'm a mess. Come on, people. Yeah, I'm honest, straightforward about it. I'm a fucked up mess. I have 2,200 altars. I shift altars minute to minute. Most of them don't share memory, so I have to watch the recording to know what I told people. This is my daily normal life. And people who think I'm arrogant are clueless. I'm just coping as I go. And so this guy says, well, you think you're God and you're complaining about back problems. So what does that make you? You just reek. And I'm like, goodbye.
Really.
Penny, there's a way to challenge them on that, because in the books I explain why their belief in omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence is the definition of schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder. So there's multiple gods that make their one God, And those multiple ET influences have created their one God.
Mhm.
How can you be omnipotent and omniscient if you can create if you can lift every rock that there is, but you can create a rock that you can't lift? That's a paradox. That's a contradiction. Okay, that's a personality disorder that comes from multiple gods, aka aliens, creating a unified gestalt mentality in the
Yep.
psychological makeup of the human being. So now we have this friction. Well, how can you be omniscient, omnipotent, if you can invent a rock that you can't lift, but you're supposed to be able to lift every rock that you create? So there's where it falls
Yeah,
apart.
there are limits one place or the other.
Yeah.
The biggest issue that I have is in the back of my mind, the Germans in space that I served with, they believe that religion was the bane of humanity. That
Yeah.
almost all evil on earth is created by religion, because
Yes.
people go to war over religion. That's what the common people are fighting over. The folks in charge are fighting over territory and money and possessions and all that, but the people at the bottom, they're fighting over religion or
Yep.
race.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. So their attitude was worshiping gods is the evil that they wanted to avoid. So they do ancestor worship, and it's their own ancestors. And they do Schwarze Sonne, which has nothing at all to do with worshiping anything. It's actually more of, Randy Kramer talks about psionics. Schwarze Sonne is psionics applied to manifestation.
Mm.
And with the enhanced psychic abilities that many of the super soldiers have, it just teaches you how to use them more effectively. It's not a religion at all. So anyway, we have plugged both of your books.
Yep.
Through the show.
Yes.
So we're getting into that time zone. Oh, kitty cat.
It's feeding time, so they're all over me.
Okay. We're getting into that time zone where it's shamelessly plug your stuff. That would be your conference and
Yep.
a website if you have it.
We do.
And your YouTube and anything else that you have that I've missed.
The main website is ufoteacher.com. That's pretty much everything that we have as far as books, etc., is on there. The Human Origins Conference website is humanoriginsconference.com. All the information is on there. The speaker page with listing all the speakers, their bios, how to get the tickets, the ticket link, the dates, where it's being held, what hotel. Everything is on there. All you have to do is just click around. We are looking for sponsors. We're looking for vendors. I'm also looking for volunteers if anybody's in the local area. So it's a group effort. We can't do this conference alone.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can do a conference alone.
It's way too much work. It's exhausting. But we have a really good lineup of speakers. Unfortunately, Linda Moulton Howe just recently backed out because she's got notification that she's going to be filming during that time frame now. So we have Dr. What's her name again?
Rita Louise.
Dr. Rita Louise,
Who was one of our former guests
on our radio show with Global Enlightenment. She is going to be speaking. She actually speaks about human origins. So,
Cool.
yep, humanoriginsconference.com and UFOteacher.com.
What are the dates for your conference?
It's May 13th, 14th, and 15th of 2022 at the Marriott Pyramid in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
The advert I put up, Lou and I took Amtrak to the conference where we met you, and he took that picture of the Amtrak station.
I know, I liked it.
He's actually a really good photographer.
It was an interesting conference. I met everybody that I know now at that conference. It was weird.
The ones I know real world, I met most of them there. Some of them I've met at the conferences I've been speaking at. But there's been some overlap, like James Rink and
Was James at that conference?
oh yeah,
He
James
was?
James was at that conference. Misha's been at the one. Misha Johnston has been at the one that I speak at.
Misha, I met in Colorado. Yeah, Colorado. I met her at the UFO Watchtower conference the year before.
The one I'm speaking at in November, Lou and I will be staying at Misha's place. It's in Vegas. I can't travel a lot yet. I'm supposed to be having, I see the surgeon on October 6th.
And that's right around the corner.
We will be finding out the date for surgery or if he wants to approach it or wait. So
Okay.
I've been a bit of a nervous wreck. I'm in a lot of pain. I have a concussion headache most of the time. There are times that I just have to lie down. I seem to do better at night than in the daytime. And my mom always called me her little vampire. When Richard was talking about werewolves, I was like, okay, my nightmares that might be real are about vampires. So being that that British royal line has a lot of blood diseases. Yeah. Things like porphyria and pernicious anemia and, the old way of treating all of those was to give you blood. The new way, at least for pernicious anemia, is B12 sublinguals. So that's what I do for mine. No, I don't drink blood. I'm safe to be around. Just watch those altars shifting. There have been times I've been doing better lately. That's why Daryl took off. But last winter, there was one show he counted. I shifted 22 times.
Wow.
Yeah, that was. I was paying attention and going, if this doesn't slow down, I'm going to have to get out of the public because I have no control over what's coming out of my mouth. And
that could be interesting.
It was interesting watching the videos. I had an altar that was approximately 9 years old and scared of everything, and she would pop out for sometimes 15 minutes at a time. Yeah, on a couple of shows. You know, and I'm like, I'm telling people at the beginning, I have alters and I shift, and if you notice it, just roll with it because I don't have any control.
Yeah.
And their eyes pop out and the mouth drops open, and they're like, oh, what have I signed on for?
Oh my God.
But they've generally been good sports. I've archived the shows. I think they've done well. And Daryl hasn't kicked me off, so I guess I'm doing okay.
Is that what you're gauging it by? Okay.
Hey, I don't worry about the numbers. My YouTube is growing. I've got over 3,000 subscribers, so
Nice.
you know. I do get a lot of religious questions on my Facebook and my YouTube, and I'm getting to where I just want to pull my hair out.
By the way, Penny's show is also on our Fringe TV network on Roku.
Is that still up?
Right now it's in hybrid stage, or hibernation stage, I should say, because
What?
the Fringe TV,
Oh yeah, the official website's
the
up.
official website's up, but the TV channel itself is in hibernation right now because we're waiting for funding to do closed captioning.
Hint, hint, money.
Okay, audience. There is a wonderful network
On Roku.
on Roku that needs your support.
Yep. Fringe TV Network. How do you have it? .com?
FringeTVNetwork.net.
.net. FringeTVNetwork.net.
And Penny Bradley is one of our premier
That's what I just said.
content creators.
Yeah. she's got a
Penny
lot of stuff.
Bradley uploaded, I think, 5 episodes and then got absolutely panic stricken, and I'm not allowed to cuss there. So I have to script it so I can read it. So it's a very different kind of a content from my show.
Well,
I'm cussing less than I did last year, but it still comes out of my mouth. And
Well, it has to come out somewhere. So
hey, Daryl is back there laughing his.
I see him.
And the audience can't. The audience is mostly radio, so they can't see him cracking up. But yeah, I'm pretty much going by. I have the assumption that if my numbers drop, that Daryl will yell at me, and he hasn't. So I'm assuming I'm doing okay.
I guess Penny is asking the question if she's doing okay. Penny, you're doing
good.
wonderful. And everybody, go and help my Smiths. I mean, come on, people. The Smiths are like the beast out there. Support them. Donate. Give. Listen.
Yes, please.
Give.
Because we've been putting out everything with our own hard-earned money that we work full-time jobs just to keep the TV channel going and the conference. And it's getting to the point where we can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I have a website that I've been paying for, and I only have the server that I bought because people donated specifically for that. So
Anything would be greatly appreciated.
we have
a donate button right on the website, don't we?
yeah, we use PayPal, we use GoFundMe. You know, whatever
Okay.
works good for them.
And the Human Origins Conference is under the umbrella of the Human Origins Foundation, which is a legit 501c corporation.
so that's
Nonprofit.
tax deductible.
Yeah, and everything goes towards that. Funding Fringe TV, getting the channel going.
Yeah, everything's under the foundation. So
And if you want the Smiths to compete with Amazon Prime and Netflix and Discovery and Gaia, then
definitely Gaia. I do want to compete with Gaia.
Oh, there's another one.
I would very much like for you guys to be competitive with the folks that are trying to set the dogma for the community. Yes.
Yes.
Um, the world outside Earth is just as complex as the world here on Earth. And
Yes.
tucking it into Americans are good, Germans are bad, Pleiadians are good, Draco are bad, and that we're all one happy family out there. I'm sorry, it's bullshit.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
I had someone ask me that question one time many years ago in New York City. He says, "Are all the reptilians bad?" I said, all I'm going to say to that is that I was trained to fight by a reptilian on behalf of the crone, so I could think like them and know their movements. So no, they're not all bad, because I had one who
I
turned
was
his
taught
back.
telepathy by an alpha drac.
Which they're very good at, you know.
Yeah, I was taught to be able to enter your head and carry on a conversation, and that you would never know that I was there unless I talked. Because they don't like people stomping through their heads in muddy boots.
And I was trained by the crone for healing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the ones who developed the regeneration tanks that the Germans in space use. So
Well,
that's something I'm just tossing out there. Historical tidbit: the original Hanabu engines gave off so much radiation that the crews were dying of radiation poisoning in rather nasty ways. And the Mantid Empire had mercy on them. They said, these people are really motivated if this is what they're doing to get out off their world. And they said, the least we can do is give them regen to fix it.
Yeah, we're really ambitious. It wasn't too long after that we split the atom and destroyed Japan. So that caught everybody's attention. Who the hell told them how to split the atom?
Yeah, I have no idea who did that. I've heard all kinds of names bandied about for a lot of different things, and keeping track of what the Germans told me was their history as opposed to what everybody on Earth is screaming is sometimes difficult. So yeah. There's a lot of folks out there that have very religious notions, and then there are a lot of other folks out there who have partial memories that they've filtered through the propaganda on Earth. And I had an abduction by folks that were supposed to be good guys, and they declared that I was an abomination and they were going to give me forever death. And that was in air quotes for the audience. But the Germans in space came and rescued me. And that was the summer before I met you. So I was still working on, at that point, I was working on what was my relationship with the Germans in space? Why did they rescue me? Why did they think it was worth losing a ship to rescue me? These beings that had abducted me were gods. And why were the Germans willing to go up against gods to rescue me? Because as far as I know, I'm a lieutenant and I operate a hyperspace drive on a ship. As far as I know, I'm pretty, I'm not shit, but I'm not special either. So I had no idea why they were doing this, and I had to do a lot of soul searching and going through memories to figure out what was I filtering through Earth propaganda and what was real. And I hear a lot of people out there who haven't taken that step because there's a lot of filtering through Earth propaganda going on.
Mm.
And it's frustrating to me because it turns it into a good versus evil morality play. And it's not. It's not. It's a bunch of people out there trying to do their different things and coming into conflict with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about issues that happened on Earth being dragged into space where they shouldn't be. And it's about a lot of children being kidnapped and mind fractured and used as assets in wars that shouldn't even be happening. And it's frustrating to me because I went public in the first place to get the kidnapping stopped. Anyway, I'm starting on around, and we have another show that starts in 6 minutes.
and I gotta say, Richard, look at your look on your Facebook. Sent it to you. That was just sent to me by Angel, and I'm like, wowed. I mean, she just said that was just a picture of these objects outside today where she was at. That's incredible.
Okay. Oh, here, got it.
See?
Well,
Yeah, we see that a lot around here. Where does she live?
She's in England, UK.
Yeah, we get a lot of that around here.
That is weird. Thank you, Angel.
Yes, thank you, because that happens a lot. If you guys would take your eyes off of the cell phones and look up more often, you'll see a lot more. Please look up.
You know something? They're taught to look down. I don't know where this indoctrination is. You got to keep your eyes down.
Because it keeps them in control and keeps them out of waking up and looking up and seeing what's really out there.
Yeah, especially during these storms that we're having.
I look down at my feet so I don't trip.
I'm done. I love my penny.
I'm honest. I'm a klutz. So, anyway, thank you very much, Linda, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Richard, for joining her.
Oh, no problem. I'd rather
Thank
be
you.
the disincarnate voice, but here I am.
It's okay. You look fine. Thank you, Daryl, for having me on your network.
I love you, birthday
next
girl.
Show is Ramona's, huh?
We love you, birthday girl. 1 week
The
to
next
go.
Show, yeah, I'm going to be 66
She's looking down again.
Friday. So, yeah, my internet connection is unstable, it says. Anyway, the next show is Ramona Speaks the Other Truth, so stay tuned.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.